Welcome to Football with Cheese. Obviously, I'm not at home. I'm visiting family. And I actually tried to record this video about an hour ago. However, that's when someone decided to mow a lawn. So I was making all this noise. I hope they're done. I haven't heard anything for 5 minutes, so let's hope. But before we get into this, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell for notification. In this video, we're going to recap Green Bay, Washington from last night, and we're going to preview some of the games for week 2 of the NFL season. Make sure you check out every Tuesday night the Sports Truth Podcast. I'm a co-host with my buddy Mike, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, link in the description. I also write articles for PackersTalk.com, do a weekly article. It's usually released on a Wednesday morning. Okay, let's get right into it. If you watched my last few videos, I predicted a Green Bay Packer victory between 7 and 10 points, not a blowout. They won by 9, so that was correct. It did surprise me a little because Green Bay really won by more than that. They should have. So let's quickly talk about injuries. Dedrick Wise is out for the year. He had a horrific injury. It looks like Austin Eckler tore his Achilles. That's not confirmed, but you can just tell when someone tears their Achilles. Likely out for the year. Really tough injuries for Washington. They do have depth at those positions, so they may be okay. And then Jayden Reed broke his collarbone. He's going to have surgery. He might have already even had surgery by now. It was an outstanding throw. Great catch for a touchdown. Called back by a penalty, unfortunately. But Green Bay is going to be okay. Of all the positions for someone to go down, that's probably the best one. They are so deep at wide receiver. Even Christian Watson's out. He tore his ACL in January, so he's probably not coming back till November. And that's a timetable for Jayden Reed. The only issue could be that Matthew Golden is the only receiver on the team that's like a deep threat, like a speed receiver, the rookie first-round pick. And once Jayden Reed got hurt, Matt LaFleur, he does this, done a lot with Christian Watson. He used Golden as a decoy, sent him deep. And that clears everything out for other receivers like Dontavian Wicks and Tucker Kraft. We'll talk about them. Let's talk about the Packers defense. Keisean Nixon, the cornerback. If you've watched me all offseason, especially when they released Jair Alexander, I was worried about the Packers cornerback room. I thought it would be the biggest weakness on defense. It's been a strength this year, believe it or not. Keisean Nixon had 5 pass breakups in this game. He had 7 all last year. He had 16 in his career. I believe he's in his 6th season coming into this game. He's an interesting story because he was mostly a kick returner, special teamer for the Raiders. Packers signed him a couple years back. They've extended him since. Even when they extended him, I thought it was an overpay because didn't have the best year. That was 2023 season, but he was much better last year. And he's been outstanding this year. I think he's a better outside corner. When he played in the slot 2 years ago, he wasn't as effective. To me, he's just much better on the outside. And he didn't go against Terry McLaurin, let's be honest. He was against Noah Brown a lot. But he was outstanding in this game. 5 pass breakups. And when Jaden Daniels targeted Keisean Nixon and Carrington Valentine, their 2 outside corners, he was 1 of 9 for 7 yards. That's incredible. And Nate Hobbs played for the first time this season, their free agent signing from the Raiders, and he looked good. It's unbelievable that that group is a strength because the rest of the defense is loaded. They're good everywhere else. So, wow, what a defense. They held Washington to, I believe, 51 yards rushing, and if that's the case, they've allowed 97 yards rushing in 2 games. Outstanding for the Packer defense. Micah Parsons. Let's talk about Micah Parsons. 8 pressures. He was double teamed most plays. In fact, late in the game, they were chipping him with a running back and double teaming him at the same time. And one of those plays, he actually got a pressure. He had a great sack where they lined up Edgerrin Cooper blitzing next to him, and both got through. You know, the biggest issue I had with the Packers defense the last few years, I mean, they were ranked 6th in yards allowed, 5th in points allowed last year. So it was a good defense. Not great, but it was good. But the biggest problem was they didn't have enough playmakers, in my opinion. You know, Xavier McKinney had 8 interceptions. He's very good. Edgerrin Cooper broke out as a rookie, but they needed that one elite playmaker that can rush the passer, and they traded for Micah Parsons. And the defense went from fifth or sixth best to one or two. Still not ready to put them ahead of Denver, but those are the two best defenses in the NFL. Insane performance by Micah Parsons. He was just everywhere. He's so explosive. He's so quick, but he's also got a lot of strength. He was bull rushing some people. He's just one of those special talents that just doesn't come around every once in a while. As far as the game goes, Green Bay, Jordan Love, he underthrew a pass to Golden, would have been a touchdown. Threw it a little late. Green Bay could have really put him away early, won by a lot more. Washington didn't necessarily play that great either. Missed 2 field goals. Brandon McManus missed a field goal for Green Bay. So many missed kicks this year. It's funny because these kickers are making like 59, 60 yards, no problem, and missing 40-some yarders. Makes no sense. Green Bay had 2 90-yard touchdown drives. That was great. They didn't let Jaden Daniels go off, either passing or running. I was worried about him scrambling a little bit, but Green Bay's defense, they're so fast, and they just fly to the ball. Brian Gutekunst, the GM, give him credit. He put together an athletic and fast defense. It's not a big defense. I think they're a little undersized overall. So if they get behind and they face a team with a big power running game, maybe they could struggle. But so far, you can't run on Green Bay. And you can't pass on Green Bay. And the pass rush is insane. So many plays. Jared Goff last week and Jaden Daniels this week, they had to get rid of the ball less than 3 seconds. And a lot of them ended up 5 yards or less completions or just incompletions. So many of them. Green Bay didn't miss their 2 offensive linemen. They were missing Aaron Banks and Zach Tom. I think it hurt the running game, though. Both those players are really good run blockers. And, Josh Jacobs hasn't really gotten off yet. So they're playing this well without Jacobs really going off. And Washington fans, you're going to be fine. You played a really good team on the road in a short week. It's really tough to play Thursday on the road because you lose a whole day for travel. It's easier when you have 7 days in between games. But when you have 4, that leaves you 3 days to prepare. So really tough. But Washington, they're a good team. They're still going to be in the playoffs. And Dontayvion Wicks was targeted early. If you don't know much about Dontayvion Wicks, he's basically the number 4 receiver for Green Bay. But he's one of the best receivers in the NFL against man coverage. Look at the analytics. He is elite there. The problem with Wicks is he's a 4.6 speed guy, and he had drop issues, especially last year. He did his last year at UVA. However, he has not dropped a pass at all this year. He was getting open often and early. And Tucker Kraft, oh my gosh, what a game. You know me. You've watched my videos. I've been bitching and bitching and bitching to Matt LaFleur to get Tucker Kraft the ball more, to design plays for him. He is insane. Obviously, Matt LaFleur watches my channel. Appreciate that, Matt. Great job coaching. But Tucker Kraft is so athletic and so good after the catch. He has so much talent to be an elite tight end, to be one of the best tight ends in the NFL. He is that talented. And for some reason, like last week, he had 3 touches. And he only caught 50 balls last year. That's just under 3 catches a game. And they need to give him the ball more, feature more. They finally did. There should be 5 to 7 design plays just for Tucker Kraft. There were 2 plays against Detroit where he was probably the 3rd read, and Jordan Love threw it to the 1st or 2nd read, and right as he did, Tucker Kraft got wide open. Would have been a huge play. So I think Matt LaFleur watches my channel. I think he's listening to me. So yeah, it's a big win for Green Bay. They're 2-0. Both games have been at home. They're at Cleveland, then at Dallas, then they're bye. But last year they struggled against the really good teams. They lost to Chicago to end the year, but they were resting starters. Jordan Love was resting, so I'm not going to count that. That was a close game, last-minute field goal. But their other 6 losses were all to 3 teams. They lost twice to Detroit, who won 15 games. They lost twice to Minnesota, who won 14 games. And they lost twice to the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. And most of those games were close. Not the playoff game to the Eagles. Jordan Love was hurt. His elbow wasn't right. But most of those games were really close. They could not get over the hump and beat the good teams. Well, they just beat 2 good teams in a row. So it's not just Micah Parsons. This team is just really, really good. Micah just gives them that playmaker on defense that they really needed. So 3 extra days to prepare for the Browns. Well, the Browns defense looked good. It is on the road, so you never know. And Washington, they get 3 extra days to prepare for the Raiders at home. So Washington very likely to be 2-1. Okay, before we get into the preview, just saw something that Jadeveon Clowney visited the Cowboys, the pass rusher. It's almost like the Cowboys need another edge rusher. I wonder why. Did they make a trade recently? Oh, that trade's going to end up being one of the worst in NFL history. Not Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson bad, but it's going to be really bad. Okay. Cleveland's at Baltimore. 11.5 point favorite. So here's the thing with that game. Last year, Baltimore lost a tough game to Kansas City week 1 on the road. They have trouble beating the Chiefs. And the next week played the Raiders at home. And I picked them for Survivor. Most people picked Cincinnati week 1 and lost. They lost to New England at home last year. I was so excited. Half the league was gone. I'm going to win Survivor this year. I haven't won in a few years. And then Baltimore just didn't show up. Loses to the Raiders. Baltimore blows so many fourth quarter leads. I don't know why. They did it last week. They just can't put people away. And you think they should. When you have Lamar Jackson, when you have Derrick Henry, you should be able to put everyone away. They should blow 0 leads. But the defense hasn't been good. There was a Derrick Henry fumble. I really thought their defense would be so much more improved, but they did not look good against Buffalo. But this year, I'm worried it's the same thing. They lost a tough game, even more devastating, to Buffalo, a game they led by 15 with 4 minutes to go. And now they're facing a team they're much better than, the Browns. But Cleveland's defense looked really good against the Bengals. They might be able to keep it close. So I can't pick that in Survivor. I can't. I think it's going to be closer than people think. Actually, here's what I think. If I pick Baltimore for Survivor, they'll lose. If I don't pick them, they'll win by 30. Now, I think they're either going to blow the Browns out or it's going to be really close. And you know Joe Flacco playing his old team Baltimore wants to play well. So, yeah, that game, I just think it's going to be closer than people think. Seattle at Pittsburgh. I'm surprised the spread's only 3. Seattle looked terrible last week at home against the Niners. And they have to travel to Pittsburgh for an early start. 1 Eastern, that's 10 their time. And the Steelers' offense looked amazing. The defense was disappointing, but I am shocked. What does Vegas know? What do they know about this game? I feel like the Steelers should be favored by 5 or 6. This is weird, but I think the Steelers win. But that is really strange. Comment down below. What do you think about that spread? What am I missing? The over-under for wins for Seattle is 7.5. They can't beat the 49ers at home when George Kittle missed most of the game? I don't know. Maybe they don't believe in Pittsburgh, but I do. Okay, Buffalo at New York Jets. The only big thing for Buffalo in this game is Ed Oliver's out. He was outstanding last week. Pretty much the only defender that played well for Buffalo because the Ravens had their way with them. And the Jets' offense looked really good in week 1. Spread 6.5. This could be closer than people think. Justin Fields plays well again. This could be close. But the key to beating Buffalo, you saw it last week, is run the ball on them. That is the only real weakness on the team is run defense. So, yeah, if you're the Jets, if Breece Hall and Braylon Allen go off, Justin Fields runs, they have a legit shot to win the game because Buffalo's defense just has not been very good this year. But they're deep at receiver as well. So Sauce Gardner, he can only cover one of those guys. So Buffalo not having number 1 receiver won't hurt them against the Jets because they had the depth. And you saw the Steeler game. Sauce Gardner pretty much followed DK Metcalf around, but other guys stepped it up and made plays. So Bills probably win, but I'm looking forward to that game because if you watch my videos in the preview show we did on the Sports Truth podcast, I like the Jets more than most people this season. I thought the Dolphins were the worst team in the division. Mike did as well. Yeah, we pretty much nailed that. San Francisco, New Orleans. The big issue for 49ers in that game is George Kittle and Brock Purdy are out. That is brutal. Mac Jones is going to start. He's an above-average backup, but he's not nearly the player Purdy is. You have Kyle Shanahan. He's really good at coaching up quarterbacks. But this is a big game for the Niners because the Saints are not good. It's a horrible offense. Their defense probably a little better than we thought. But Niners got to find a way to win games like this if they want to win the division. It is a road game, but it's against one of the worst teams on their schedule. And if you're a Saints fan and you're trying to lose out for the first pick, probably the Dolphins, but then you want to lose this game if you're cheering for that. But otherwise, Saints got a chance in this game because of those injuries. And they got to keep it close, got to play good defense, force Mac Jones into turnovers. New England at Miami. So New England, let's talk about them first. Before this season, they were hyped up as one of the most improved teams. I said in one of my videos, I could see them winning 5 games, but I could see them making the playoffs and winning 10 and everything in between. Because they're very young. They have a lot of turnover on offense. And they did not look good in week 1 against the Raiders. Lost at home. But they are favored because it's Miami. I think the Patriots should win, but it's a division matchup. They're always tough, and it's on the road in very humid weather in Miami, so that could affect them. But New England is the better team. Rams, Titans, I think I'm going to pick this for Survivor. And it's a stupid pick just because it's right in between the Houston Texans and who do they play next week? Somebody big. Oh, the Eagles. So the look ahead to the Eagles game. Playoff matchup. Big game for the Rams next week. But it's the Titans, and they're terrible. They forced 4 turnovers against the Broncos and stopped 2 fourth downs. So basically 6 turnovers or turnover on downs total, and still lost by 8 to the Broncos because their offense is that terrible. The offensive line is garbage. Their receivers are bad. Calvin Ridley should be more of a number 2 receiver, and he's their number 1 guy. Cam Ward, rookie quarterback, he's very talented, but I just think the Rams' defensive line is going to have their way with the Tennessee offensive line. The Rams have such a good pass rushing defensive line, and they're deep. So I think the Rams are going to get it. It could be close. The spread's only 5.5, and the Rams, to me, are a playoff team, and the Titans are one of the worst teams in the NFL. So the fact it's only 5.5 means this could be close. But I'm going to probably pick the Rams just because they're playing the Titans. Please. I'm saving Baltimore. Okay. Chicago, Detroit. Check out my Bears video. I'm going to link it here. I did a deep dive of what's going on with the Bears, why it's not going well, Caleb Williams and all of that. So make sure you do check that out. I like Detroit in this game. They did not look good in week 1. The interior offensive line is not as good as last year. It's a little concerning. But the Bears don't have the defensive line as nearly as good as Green Bay. Not even close. And I think Detroit is still one of the best teams in the NFL. Maybe not top 5, but top 6 or 7. They're still really good. Don't give up on Detroit. They're playing at home. They're going to have double-digit wins this year. They're going to make the playoffs. The Bears are just a mess. They have talent on the roster, but they're just an absolute mess right now. Ben Johnson homecoming, so it's an interesting game. Wish it wasn't 1 o'clock Eastern start. This should be like a Monday night game or at least a 4 o'clock start. 6.5 is the spread. That's pretty big, so Vegas still believes in the Lions just like I do. Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants. Dallas by 5.5 at home. Dallas gets 3 extra days. That's going to help them. And they look better than expected. Obviously, without Micah Parsons, they're not as good defensively. But the Giants are just a disaster on offense. The entire offensive line is terrible because Andrew Thomas, their only good offensive lineman, is out, their left tackle. So I think Dallas should win this game. God, even 5.5 is probably not enough. Probably should be 7, 7.5. The Giants just aren't very good. But the one thing where Dallas could struggle is protecting Dak because the Giants have 3 really good pass rushers and the Cowboys don't have good offensive tackles. That is a weakness. Tyler Guyton at left tackle. Maybe he'll be improved this year. Really struggled as a rookie. So if the Giants are going to keep it close, they've got to get sacks on Dak or force him into incompletions early and often. Jacksonville at Cincinnati. This game is actually fairly important. Both teams won last week, so the winner will be 2-0. Bengals probably should not have won at the Browns. They got pretty lucky. There were missed kicks, some late interceptions. They did not play well offensively. I expect them to do much better. Burrow will have a better game, so will Chase. And Jacksonville pretty much dominated the Panthers. Now, is Jacksonville improved from last year, or did they just play the Panthers? So we'll see. The Bengals by 3.5. I think the Bengals take it. I think their offense bounces back. I still need to see more of the Jaguars to believe in them, because it is the Jaguars. They get off to start sometimes. They look, oh, look, we're going to be good this year, and then they collapse. They do it over and over. I do think their coaching staff is much improved, though. But I think the Bengals take it. Carolina at Arizona. Pretty simple. Arizona cannot lose this game. I had both the Bengals and Cardinals in the playoffs. And these are games for both teams need to win. Home games where they're favored. Those are the games you need to win if you're going to make the playoffs. And Arizona's better than the Panthers. I don't know what to do with Carolina. I thought their offense would be much improved. Bryce Young really played well down the stretch last year. And it looked like the old Bryce Young, the old offense. And their defense isn't very good. We knew that. But I thought Carolina could win 7 or 8 games. Because I thought their offense with Tedder McMillan and Chuba Hubbard's a great running back. I just thought they would be much improved. But they looked awful against Jacksonville. And Will Johnson looks so good for Arizona. Last week they got a road win in New Orleans. So home opener for Arizona. If they win this game, they're in great shape. They'll be 2-0. Next up, Denver, Indianapolis. So Denver played horrible, but they played the Titans, so they still won. If they had played like that against the Colts, they would not have won. Denver needs to play better. Bo Nix did not have a good game, but the Denver defense is incredible. It is one of the best defense, probably the best defense in the NFL right now. And the Colts slaughtered Miami, but it's Miami. I don't think the Colts are a contender. I could see them making the playoffs, but I do not think they're a contender. But they have so many weapons on offense. And the offensive line played really well. They're going from playing Miami's defense, which might be the worst in the league, to playing maybe the best defense, though. So this should be a really fun game to watch. I want to know if Indianapolis is for real, if they can still put up points on a defense like Denver. I did a make or break video. Basically take every team, what can make them or break them. And for what could break Denver, I said if Bo Nix has a sophomore slump, if he regresses. And he looked like it in week 1. It's just 1 week. But if Bo Nix does not have a good season, then Denver's not a contender. If he does, if he plays well with their defense, then they will be a contender. So who will win that game? I have no idea. Gun to my head, probably take Denver, but don't pick that game for Survivor. Just don't do it. Philadelphia, Kansas City, Eagles by 1. Kansas City has almost all their weapons out. They did not look good in week 1. I think Kelsey's cooked. He's pretty much done. Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, they're past their prime. Those are their weapons on offense. That's who Patrick Mahomes has to throw to. I think Philadelphia wins comfortably. I really do. I don't care that it's in Kansas City. They slaughtered them in the Super Bowl last year. I think the Eagles get 1 extra day, but the Chiefs had to fly back from Brazil, so really 2 extra days to prepare. So, yeah, I think Philadelphia, there's not a lot need to be said of this game. Philadelphia is really good. I think they take it. I just think the Chiefs could start 1-4, 2-5 with all their injuries. Rashee Rice is also suspended, and Xavier Worthy is out. So that really hurts. They just don't have enough talent right now on offense. And their defense did not look so hot last week. You can pass on this defense. So look for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith to have much better games than they did in week 1. Sunday Night Football. When I first saw the schedule, I was not really looking forward to this game. But now I kind of am. It's Atlanta at Minnesota. So J.J. McCarthy did not play well till the 4th quarter. He played amazing. I was high on J.J. McCarthy coming out of the draft. He looks legit. I know it's just 1 quarter, but he settled down. After that pick 6, he seemed to just respond. And I think that's important for a young quarterback if you're able to do that. Minnesota is favored by 3.5. So Vegas thinks Atlanta and Minnesota are very evenly matched. I'll say this about the Falcons. Their defense looks much improved. They played really well against the Buccaneers. If they had a kicker that can make a 44-yard kick, that game would have gone to overtime. But losing at home to Tampa, a division rival, that's tough. So Atlanta needs this game. Well, Minnesota needs to, but Atlanta really needs this game. You don't want to start 0-2. 0-2 teams rarely make the playoffs. And Minnesota, it's a home game. They're already 1-0 on the road. 1-0 in the division because they beat the Bears. But their division is much tougher than Atlanta's. And you got to compete with Green Bay, who looks amazing, and Detroit. Even though Detroit has lost, they're very good. So it's an important game for both teams. It should be a really good one. They're 2 Monday night games. I love it. Some people don't, but I don't like 1 o'clock Eastern games. I like to spread it out, so I like 2 Monday night games. First one is Tampa at Houston. Houston coming off a tough loss. Your defense held the Rams to 14 points. You still lost because your offense was horrible. And the offensive line is still so bad in Houston. 3 long field goals for Fairburn. That was all their scoring. They got to win this one. Jacksonville could beat the Bengals. The Colts could beat Denver. So there's a situation where they could be 2 games behind the Colts and the Jaguars if they lose this game. It's a home game. Tampa's got a very good team, but their offense did struggle last week, minus Emeka Egbuka. And Houston is favored by 2.5, so it's pretty evenly matched. I don't know. I think it's a coin flip. Don't pick this for Survivor. One more game. Another game that I didn't necessarily look forward to, but it's become very important because the winner will be 2-0, and it's a division game. It's Chargers at Raiders. So the Chargers get a few extra days, although they did fly back from Brazil, and they looked amazing against the Chiefs. What was most surprising about that game was Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman are both run-first type of coaches. They're both offensive coaches. Harbaugh's the head coach, Greg Roman, offensive coordinator. But they had all off-season to prepare for the Chiefs, and they know that the Chiefs are better against the run than against the pass. And so the Chargers called a pass-first game plan. They threw 34 times and called 16 runs. Now, it was 34 passes to 23 runs, but 7 of those runs were Justin Herbert scrambling. So 34 passes to 16 called runs. That is insane for a Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman team. But they recognized where the Chiefs were vulnerable, and it worked. And I love when the Chargers, they use Ladd McConkey a lot as a decoy. You know, Ladd McConkey had an unbelievable rookie season, really came on, had a monster playoff game against the Texans. The Chiefs had to pay attention to him, and they did. And that set up Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson having big games and scoring touchdowns. It only works once, though. I think the Chargers will feature Ladd McConkey a lot in this game, and I think he'll do well because the Raiders' cornerback room isn't very good. But the winner of this game is going to be 2-0. Yes, the Raiders could be in first place in the West at 2-0. Chargers only favored by 3.5. Probably before the Raiders beat the Patriots last week would have been higher. So Chargers, if they win, they're not only 2-0, they're 2-0 in the division, which it's a very, very good division. So looking forward to that. I hope it's a close game. So there we go. Comment down below. Any of these games, do you think the spreads are way off? The one that doesn't make any sense to me is Seattle versus Pittsburgh. The rest of them I can see. What do you think about Green Bay, Washington? If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe, hit the bell, you know all that. If you've not seen the Sports Truth podcast this past Tuesday, definitely watch the first hour. We go over a lot of college football and we preview some of the games. I don't usually do a college football preview video because we talk about it on the podcast. But what I might do is Sunday morning, I might do a recap because there's some big games, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Georgia, Tennessee, South Florida, Miami. So some big games. So look out for that video if I have time. Hopefully I do. Share this with anyone who loves football as we continue to grow the channel. Check these out if you have not, and I'll see you in the next video.